I might make a big mistake right now, but I know that some seats, there's a lot of people that are sick, and so I hate to see C3 can see better, especially those of us that don't see so well. Um, and Bob's face is extremely funny. No, I mean his facial expressions. His facial expressions are good, and you kind of don't want to miss him. So maybe I don't want to upset the ushers or anything, but you probably could move up a little bit if you see some open spots. Now it's act like it's a baseball game and it's the fourth inning, and so my name's Ray, and I'm not a comedian, but I try to act like one sometimes, and it's usually not that successful. But here I am. So I like how feels like church, a lot of Christians. I hope you're encouraged. A merry heart does good like medicine, the word tells us. And if you're not a Christian, I hope you see that Christians aren't any weirder than other people are weird, because everybody's weird. But that you would see that they have a light, and they have a hope, and they know a person named Jesus, and that changes everything. And so we want to be a witness of that truth here tonight. And it does remind me of church, because what I see on Sunday morning is that people are always here 15, 20 minutes before service, and they always want the front row. That always happens in church. And the sarcasm flows from this stage sometimes, and I feel a little awkward because I don't have a pulpit. So, Bob, I got to tell you, what a dear friend for decades now. And first met him at Spirit West Coast. And basically some of my old lifestyle activities of like being an unlicensed pharmaceutical rep, I was always interested in cutting out the middleman. And so, you have comedians and different people that, and performers, and they have agents and stuff like that. And I never wanted to deal with that. So we struck up a conversation. We became friends. And then he was for Spirit West Coast, if you remember those that used to happen in the West Coast, and different Christian festivals with a lot of musical artists and stuff. He was the MC for some of those. And that's where he kind of wound up, the Lord elevating him to. And one of the next years, after we became friends and he'd come here and we'd spend time, he blessed my family. Our church was really small, and it was really a struggle for quite a few years, because that's the way the Lord needed it to be and needed me to be. And we learned a lot of things, but there was no way I could take our 5 kids to Spirit West Coast again for who knows how long to save up that money and to go to Spirit West Coast. And he just goes, hey man, I got you covered. As the MC, I get to do certain things, and he got us all in to that, and comped us that, and I was so thankful for his care and generosity, and that's a friendship that goes back, like I said, for decades now. And I would have thought at this point, when I first met Bob, almost 30 years ago, when our daughter, who used to go to went to his youth camp stuff, who's now 40, I would have thought by now his voice would have gotten deeper. But that hasn't happened either, hardly. And so we get to have a lot of fun together. And I wanted to tell you that he does have a table that's set up in the fellowship hall afterwards, and also the hospitality crew is going to have some stuff in there as well, if you want it. So you can say you took your wife to a show and a meal. Bob did 300, some of you have heard of Tim Hawkins probably. He's a pretty big name in Christian comedy and comedy period. And Tim used to be the opener for Bob when their relationship first started. Now they've done over 300 shows together, and Bob's still working hard. He appreciated that one. Yeah. I'd like to pray with you. Father, we thank you for time together. We thank you for the joy of laughter. We thank you for friendships that are going to last into the hereafter. And Lord, what it does to help us even physically, we know, to enjoy laughter together. And a merry heart does good. Your word told us long before any experts confirmed it that merry heart does good like medicine. So, Lord, encourage us, strengthen us, and draw us closer to yourself tonight, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. And I know we have 4 in the hospital that right now in our local. And anyways, I know one of them, Bob, and I'm just going to do a shout out on live stream. Hi, Bob. He said, man, can you show it tonight so I can watch it? And if some of you are thinking, man, I could have just did that and stayed at home and saved $20, you are a tightwad. And I just want you to know that. Why don't you welcome my friend, Bob Smiley.
Thanks for turning me on. That's not the right phrase. That's not good. I hope Bob is laughing in the hospital right now. I got to Ray's house because we have been friends. I don't even think of him as a friend. I mean, honestly, it's more close than that, more like a great-great-grandfather. But I got to his house, and I wanted to tell him this so bad, but I wanted to wait and announce this here, because this is the first time I actually get to say this. But over Christmas, my wife and I found out that we're expecting, and I get to share that with you guys tonight. Yeah, so you don't have to applaud. But man, we're expecting one of our kids to move out soon. Oh, and it's a boy, so... We're pretty excited. I do remember getting you tickets at Spirit West Coast. At the time, I thought you were somebody else. So, lesson learned. But I love doing comedy. I loved traveling around. So if you haven't heard me before, I'll try to catch you up real quick. I grew up, right now I live in northern Mexico, a place called Houston, Texas. And... But I grew up north of Dallas. I grew up in this tiny little town. We had 281 people in it. That was it. My dad's joke was our idea of a large industrial company was a 200-pound Avon lady. Yeah. That was my dad's joke. I would never tell that. But we had a little school. We only had one little store. It was called a drive-through tobacco barn. So I don't even know what went on there. I guess rednecks just pulled up and we're like, yeah, fill her up, please. Like, my parents are awesome. My parents are amazing. They're amazing Christians. They are great parents. Actually, in November, they celebrated 56 years of marriage. They just love each other. They're getting old, though. Like, I can't call them after 8 p.m. Yeah. Because they're drunk. That's not true. My mom hates that joke. When I thought of it, I called and told her, and I remember she was like, that's not funny. Yeah, it was after 8. And, no, this is why I love comedy. I can stand in front of you guys and say something ridiculous like that, and you guys know it's a joke and laugh. That doesn't happen in the real life, and I always forget it. So I don't live in Houston. I live in the Woodlands, north of Houston. Does anybody know the Woodlands? Oh, you do? Okay, then I need to say this real quick. Oh, you do too? I am not rich. The Woodlands is too rich. If there's a fire, the firemen only use bottled water. Right? I don't know how I got a house in the Woodlands. Either God blessed us with that house, or the elderly person I bought it from thought I was her grandson. Yeah, it had to be God, because all I said was, I really want this house, Nana. So... But our grocery store is H-E-B. Like a couple weeks ago, I was in H-E-B. I always forget I'm not on stage all the time. And a lady was taking a box of Captain Crunch and putting it in her basket. And I don't know why my comedy brain I ran up to her and I was like, no way, Captain Crunch? I knew him when he was a lieutenant. Yeah, Lieutenant Kevin Crunch. We called him Special K. And yeah, he did not like that. It really frosted his flakes. And he was British, so he just yelled, "Cheerio, you Fruit Loop." And he was stressed out. He was a single dad. He had a young son named Bran. And that's right, Special K was raising Bran. And okay, thank you. It's not a great stand-up bit, but pretty good on the fly. But that's whenever I realize, what am I doing? I'm not on stage. I forget that all the time. That I'm just some weirdo in the grocery store. She doesn't know who I am, but I am a comedian, so I doubled down. I grabbed some Fiber One and prune juice, and I was like, it's going to be a long weekend. And yeah, I told her my name was Tim Hawkins, and I got out of there. But I love doing comedy. If you do like my show tonight, I have my third Dry Bar special is coming out. Do you guys know what Dry Bar is? It's like a comedy, yeah. My second Dry Bar came out during COVID. I don't know, Arizona didn't really shut down, did it? You guys didn't do anything? Yeah, it was kind of like Texas. The only bad thing was all my shows canceled. So I was home. I did get to know my neighbors in the Woodlands. That was weird. Because the only thing my next door neighbor had ever said to me before the quarantine was, "Why are you in our pool?" And our school shut down for a little. Did your school shut down at all? Yeah, you didn't have to homeschool your kids? That was happening all over America. I love that parents were finding out that teachers were not the problem. And we had to homeschool. We had 5 boys. I had to homeschool. I had 2 of my kids pack a bag and go across the street and try to register as a foreign exchange student. And we saw the weirdest stuff, and I couldn't get on stage and talk about it. That was difficult. But thankfully, you still see stuff. Has everybody seen somebody, maybe not here in Arizona, but have you seen somebody driving in the car by themselves, wearing a mask? That still goes on. I was in Washington, D.C. in April, pulled up to a red light, looked in the car next to me. The guy had 2 masks on. They weren't even on right. His ear was folded over. I was like, how did he get elected president? Okay, here's the deal. I did my research. I figured I was okay with that. But I never want to offend anybody. I want everybody to have a good time at my show. So if that joke offended you, please know that's all it was. It was just a joke, okay? I mean, come on. He wasn't elected. So, but my Dry Bar came out. It came out in March when most people were quarantined. Most people were stuck at home. And Satan loves to use isolation to mess with us. Satan loves that because God has built us for community and to love on each other and do life together. So I actually was excited that my special was coming because I love putting my stuff online. That's why when you asked if we could live stream it, I was like, absolutely. I just can't read the comments that people post because they're so mean. I mean, yeah. Ugh. I had to block my dad. So, but my Dry Bar came out and I was like, oh, maybe this will help people. Maybe it'll bring it, because laughter is powerful, like you said. Right? You guys agree? I read in a medical journal one time, laughter's 10 times more powerful than morphine, than our strongest drug. And God just gave that to us for free. Okay. 4 of you agree. The rest of you are staring at me like, we like morphine. Like what? I'm not saying it's either or, okay? There are times you need morphine. If I break my leg in half, I don't want my doctor standing over me going, knock, knock, right? But my Dry Bar came out and I was all excited. I was thinking, well, maybe it'll help somebody. And so I was going to actually read the comments. And it came online and the first comment popped up in 30 seconds. So I was like, oh, I'm helping people. And the first comment just said, I thought Robin Williams was dead. The second comment said, I don't think he looks like Robin Williams unless he grew up near a nuclear plant. And third comment said, I think he looks more like Conan O'Brien and the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? You're nodding, you're yelling, yeah? Was it you that wrote that? Are you Dark Horse 420? It said he looked like Conan O'Brien and the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway had a baby. and couldn't afford to feed the baby. And here's the deal. I'm not telling you to feel bad for me because I know that God created me and he has a plan and a path for me just like he did with you. So when people make fun of how I look, it doesn't bother me because I know Christ loved me enough to go to that cross. Same for you. So none of that stuff bothers me. And I've been a goofy looking dude all my life. Like when I was born, my ears were this big. Can you guys in the back, can you feel the breeze? I mean, so my ears were this big, and I was a smaller, obviously, kid, and so I heard every single ear joke. Of course, I heard them. But I would, and here's the other bad thing. So I was a scrawny little redheaded kid with big ears, and we grew up poor. We grew up really poor. You know, like we had to eat cereal with a fork to save on milk. Everybody get it? That's gonna get it? Okay, all right. No child left behind. Okay, so, but we did. We grew up poor, although my dad made us feel like we had everything. Like my mom, our neighbor got a trash compactor, and so my mom wanted a trash compactor. We couldn't afford that. So my dad, every night, would use me. He would pick me up. Oh, I remember yelling, "No, please, feet first, feet first." So we grew up poor, and the reason why I mention that is because my mom made all my clothes, which I think is super sweet. But she made all my clothes out of green material because she thought green brought my eyes out. I finally had to tell her, "Mom, you don't take a scrawny redheaded kid and put him in a green outfit." Right? I look like a leprechaun. Kids would come up to me at recess and be like, "Hey, Bob, you look magically delicious." So, but here's the deal. I knew early on that Jesus loves me, and that's all that truly matters. That is all the truth. So people making fun of me, and here's the other thing too. In high school, I don't know why, but girls really liked me. So that really boosted my self-esteem. Well, once I figured it out. For a while, I didn't know what girls do when they had a crush on you, but thankfully I read it in an article in Cosmos, so I knew it was right. And it said that when girls like you, they will ignore you. I had no idea how many girls were completely in love with me. Every girl at the school. Amy Jenkins was the most attractive girl in her school. She ignored me all the time. She obviously had it bad. In fact, she walked in the English room one time, and I was standing by the door, and she took her coat off and hung it on me. Yeah, just hung it on my ear. And so when I tell you all these comments, don't feel bad for me because I don't care. The only comment that actually did kind of bother me a little bit is it said, "I think he looks more like Robert Englund before the burn." Okay, does anybody know who Robert Englund is? Yeah, see, I didn't know because I'm a Christian, but you do? Okay. No, Freddy Krueger. They said I look like Freddy Krueger before the burn. And again, stop going, "Oh," because don't feel bad. I did not help my cause because I immediately wrote back, "I will haunt you in your dreams." And then I signed it, "Nanu, Nanu." And, but I really was hoping that my special would come out and actually help people because I knew depression was on the rise. And again, Satan just loves to keep us separated from each other. And I was like reading all these comments. It was all about how I looked. And I was like, "Is anybody?" And then finally this comment popped up. And I just sat there reading. And it just said, "Man, it's a dark world and it's getting darker. But thank you for being a light and spreading a little bit of joy with this amazing special." And I'm telling you, you don't have to applaud that. I just sat there going, that right there. It's why I made that second Facebook account. So I could write what other people should have been writing on there. So I love comedy. So grew up with awesome, loving Christian parents. My parents sent me to a Christian college. My mom wanted me to have a Christian education. My dad wanted me to go to a Christian college because, he said it's easier to pick up women. It is easier to pick up Christian women. You can use Christian pickup lines like, "Excuse me, I believe your rib belongs to me." So I went to Abilene Christian. That's where I met my wife. At the time, I thought it was love at first sight because she was walking across the campus center, and for no reason at all, she just stopped and turned, and she looked right at me. Just crazy because I really thought I was hidden by the bushes. And love knows no boundaries. She just looked right into my binoculars. And as she walked up, I used to get so nervous to talk to women, and so I was like, don't try to be funny, just say something normal. So I thought, I'm going to say, "Hi, you look nice." But I was so nervous, instead of "Hi, you look nice," I was like, "Nice, you look high." But she laughed, and we dated for like 2.5 years. I proposed. That was nerve-wracking. Yeah, waiting for that email. And we got married, and I got this weird offer to go out on tour as a comedian, even though I'd only done stand-up twice in my life. And so I started as a comedian and a husband, and I was not good at either one of them. Because here's the deal, I did not know a lot about women. And all of a sudden now I'm living with this person, and I didn't know women at night put stuff on their face and in their hair, I guess to preserve them through the night. And there's nothing wrong with it. You just got to warn your husband. The first week I was married, she came out of the bathroom one night. I didn't even recognize her. I was like, "Whoa, hi, greetings." I was like, "Should I take you to my leader?" And she was like, "Idiot, I am your leader." So she had these huge trash can rollers in her hair. I was like, "What is that?" And she's like, "What? I just set my hair." And I was like, "What time's it going to go off?" It went off right then. So we were married 2 years. We had our first son, which is a blessing. I love being a dad. It's my favorite thing in the world. And God is good. God is really good. I have an amazing dad, and I always wanted to be a dad. This may be too personal. It's not going to be too personal here. You guys are open. But when I first got married, I wanted to be a dad, and I was told I couldn't have children. By my mother-in-law. Yeah, she thought she was in charge because we were living with her. And the first two we had in the hospital, then we moved back to Texas, and we did something different with our third one. The third one, I'd read this article that it was actually better to have a baby underwater. You guys heard of that? We did that, and don't do that. Turns out not everyone at that YMCA had read that article. That lifeguard was angry. So this part of my show or testimony or whatever is going to get a little awkward, but here's the deal, man. Life can get messy. So I married 17 years. We had 3 kids, and then all of a sudden my wife just walked away. She walked away from me and the boys. She met somebody else with way bigger bank accounts, and it's true, and she's filthy rich and everything's fine. But for a while, I was a single dad. I remember even asking her, I was like, "What does he have that I don't have?" And she told me, and at first I thought it was a gun, but you guys know what a 401k is? Yeah, so he had a big one of those, and so for a while I was a single dad, and life was not turning out how I thought it was going to. Look, that's why the church is so important, man. The church came in and loved on me and my boys. My boys wanted me to start dating right away, which was super awkward because, I'd been married 17 years. We dated for 2.5, so I was faithful for 19 and a half. I'm faithful in any relationship. This is cutting out. You want me to jump to the handheld? Can you do that? Sure. Okay. Just a second. Are we good? Check 1, 2. Anyway, that's how I met Jesus. And and it was cutting out at the worst time. Like, this is a serious, I don't usually get really serious, but honestly, I got to see God take us through and care for us and love on us, even though we were in a dark time. And like I was saying, my kids wanted me to date, and I had to tell them, like, no, because I was faithful. I'm faithful in any relationship. When I hang out with my pastor, I don't look at other pastors. I don't. I'm not like, oh, wonder what his sermon's like. I bet he ends on time. So... If you have somebody that's going through that, like a divorce or something like that, do not try to push them in another relationship. That is the time that you step back and you let people heal and you let them connect with God, because God's the only person that's going to be able to, it's the only being that's going to be able to get you through something that dramatic. One of my friends signed me up immediately for a dating site, and it was called Plenty of Fish. Yeah. Do you know about it? Yeah. Wait a minute, were you on it? You look familiar. eHarmony. Okay, all right. Somebody has money. But I'm glad that because I don't want people to think I'm making that up. Plenty of Fish is a real dating site, and there are plenty of fish on there, but they're all bottom feeders. Oh, it was terrible. People would lie, like people, in their profile, I'm really into yoga, and I'd show up and I was like, oh, she misspelled yogurt. People would put fake photos. Why? We're gonna meet. Don't make me think, oh, I'm about to meet Anne Hathaway, and I show up and I'm like, oh, that's Anne Passed Away. So for a while, I was just going to concentrate on just loving on my three boys and really, like I said, just trying to heal. And it was so weird how God, I wasn't going to do stand-up anymore. I didn't think there was anything funny in life and everything. And this is how God got a hold of me. And God will do this but this is kind of a weird story, but I got a call from Huntsville State Prison, which if you know the Woodlands, Huntsville is just right north of there. The warden to this day doesn't know how he got my cell phone number. He just had it, like on a piece of paper, and he called and he's like, is this Bob Smiley? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, hey, I've been following you online, and I know you're going through some stuff, but you're staying positive, and would you come do a show for our prisoners? And I was not going to do stand-up ever again, because I thought I was too broken for God to use me, which is such a lie from Satan. I hope nobody's sitting here tonight feeling that way. God can use you, and he does have a plan and a purpose for your life. And so I agreed to do this, and I went to the prison, and I was scared to death. I'd never been to a prison. When you check in, you can bring your ID and one key. And it's supposed to be your car key, but I took my sharpest key. I did, and I took my oldest son, Coulter, because I thought it'd be good for him to see. Plus I thought if there's a riot, I can outrun him. So I had two more at home. So... But that's how God got a hold of me and reminded me that he could still use me even though I was in a broke. And I was standing in this giant room, and they bring the prisoners in one by one. And again, I'm in the darkest part of my life, and I'm scared to death because I'm in this prison. And the first prisoner walked up. He had tattoos all over his face, this short, stocky dude. And I'm looking at all the tattoos. I'm thinking, oh, I miss my grandma. And he had some of the same tattoos. And he walks right up to me and he just goes, man, thanks for coming. And I was like, dude, you don't even know if I'm funny or not. And I'll never forget his response. He goes, we don't care if you're funny. Nobody comes to see us. So the fact that you and your boy are even here, man, that just gives us a little bit of hope. And sometimes a little bit of hope is all you need. We're built for community, And then he got emotional. He's like, man, I'd love to give you a hug if you'll put that key down. And so I got up and I started making him laugh, and I got to talk about Jesus, and I went to minister to them, and what happened was they were ministering to me. Like they were making me laugh. Because here's the deal, I don't really think through my show. I have a bunch of stories that I like to tell, but I don't really sit like professional comedian. Like, I'm gonna tell, and one of my favorite things to talk about is I love being a dad. I love it. Even though there's things I'm not good at. Like, one of the jobs of a dad is the protector of the family. So me, I'm the protector. First of all, I have the wrong body, okay? I look like I went to a blood bank and forgot to say when. In high school, I was the only kid that used chapstick as deodorant. And like Ray mentioned, my voice is kind of actually raspy because I've been doing shows a lot, but normally it's even higher than this. And like, what kind of protector would I be with this voice? If you were a burglar breaking in downstairs and I was at the top of the stairs, would this scare you? Like, you better not be down there. Like, what is that? I'm the only guy that can stand at the top of the stairs and go, you better get out or I'll call my husband. Like, what? Well, that's one of my favorite bits to do because I love talking about being a dad. Also, I want to let people know I don't take myself too seriously. I don't think I'm cool or anything. I'm just a follower of Jesus, you know? And so that's one of my favorite bits. So I did that bit for the prisoners, not realizing that's not a good... Okay, most of you are starting to get it. The rest of you guys, I said to a room full of prisoners, pretend you're a burglar breaking in downstairs. One guy yelled out, don't have to pretend. And but they were all so just grateful. They all lined up after the show. And I'm not telling you this to be like, ooh, I was brave and I went and did this amazing thing. No, I was broken the whole time. God used that to remind me that he could still use me. And I still kind of messed it up because I was talking about what was going on in my life. And as I was mentioning, I realized that the guy that my ex-wife left me and the boys for, he has 2 houses, but one of them is in Willis, which is right by Huntsville. So I shouldn't have done this, but I was like, by the way, if any of you are getting out soon, love to share an address with you. But they all just lined up afterwards and thanked me and my son. And, you know, one guy, although he leaned in and just whispered in my ear, he was like, seriously? All I need is that other dude's name. So I gave it to him. So I was a single dad for a while, and I was not interested in pursuing a relationship or anything at all. And then all of a sudden, God brought this amazing woman into my life that I met on one of the 9 dating apps I'd signed up for. And that's a joke. But we did meet online. It sounds so weird to say that, but I guess that's how people meet now. Did you guys really meet on eHarmony? Yeah, we met on, it wasn't eHarmony, it was, what was the dating site? MySpace. Yeah. It was awesome. We were the only 2 left. And she's a little younger than me, so I was really nervous for that first date, but her favorite band was playing in Houston, the Wiggles. And, no. I wanted that date to go on forever, but, you know, it was a school night. And she was a teacher. Did I mention that? Okay, is that why she's not that much younger than me. Is that, because you guys kind of got icy on me, and I was like, what's going on? No, she's 9 years younger than me, that's it, okay? Which I didn't think that was a big deal, but when we got married, it kind of was an issue. Because here's the deal, until you're actually married and living with somebody, you don't really know them. You know, like when we were dating, I noticed that her apartment was very clean, always clean. And it wasn't until 3 months into the marriage that I met her cleaning lady. But yeah, so there's little stuff that we had to figure out, like eating times. I never thought about that, but she likes to eat super late, like 5:30 or 6. And yeah. And in the morning, she just jumps out of bed like a weirdo. She doesn't take 30 minutes to cough and listen to her knees pop. So there's some differences in stuff. But yeah, but she's an amazing woman of God. She's so, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've probably seen we do videos together and stuff. And she has 2 boys. That's why I have 5 kids. I have 2 bonus kids. Actually, yeah, we don't have a heart out tonight. I'm gonna tell you the story. because it shows you kind of my wife's heart. The first time I talked to her on the phone, I didn't know she had kids. And she mentioned something about it. And I was like, whoa, hold on. You have kids? How many kids do you have? And she goes, I have 2 boys. And I don't know why I did this, but I went, yeah. Oh, it's going to get worse. She goes, what do you mean, ugh? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made that noise, but this is the bad part. I said, I didn't think about it, but I don't know if I want more kids, which is a terrible thing to say. This is what she said to me first time we ever talked on the phone. She goes, you know what? No matter what happens between you and I hope you get the mentality that 2 more kids is 2 more opportunities to love and to be loved. And it's 2 more opportunities to allow children to see what a heavenly father's love might look like through an earthly father. Isn't that beautiful? And then it was silent for a little bit. And she was like, how many do you have? And I said, 3. And we got disconnected. And but yeah, so we're a blended family. It's always so weird to say blended family because people are always like, oh, you're a blended family. I bet it's like the Brady Bunch. I'm like, it's like the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan with way more cussing. No, it's fine now. We just, in December, we celebrated 6 years of marriage, and the boys love each other, and now we really are a family. But for a while, blending the kids together, because they grew up differently, and then all of a sudden, we're together. Like, you know, my 2 bonus kids, they grew up mostly without a dad, and my 3 boys grew up mostly without an adult. I tried my best. I remember a lady from our church called me one time. She's like, so sorry, what's going on? Do you want me to come over and help teach your kids stuff? And at first I was offended. I was like, what do you mean teach? She was like, dishes, laundry. I was like, no, we can do it all at once. We have a huge pool. But everything was an issue because they all had different experiences growing up. Food was a big deal. So my wife is a gourmet cook. She is a phenomenal, she likes the fancy everything. In fact, the first 4 months we were married, I thought she gave monthly to a German orphanage because I did not know what Nordstrom's was. But even cooking, so we grew up poor, and a lot of the way that we fed our family, I can talk about it. I think I can talk about this. Can I talk about hunting? Is it okay to talk about hunting here? Okay, I figured. Some people get offended, but I grew up, we ate everything that we hunted. And especially when I was growing up and we were poor, that's how God fed us. And, you know, I don't ever want to offend anybody, but that's some of my best memories with my dad. Duck hunting, out early in the morning, the sun would be coming up. My dad and I'd be hiding under the slide by the swing set, and I'd be tearing off little pieces of bread. Ducks would come waddling out. Quack, quack. You know, right? So, she okay? I'm kidding. They didn't waddle like that. So, but my 3 boys, we hunt all the time. We hunt and we eat everything that we hunt. And so I always forget that not everybody's like that. So that was a big deal. In fact, when I was a single dad, we still have this horrible infestation problem in Texas. I don't know if you guys have the same thing. We call them Californians. Do you guys have those? We have so many just pouring in. So when I was a single dad, so in our little neighborhood, our house was known for 2 things. One, it was known as kind of the frat house. Everybody knew the Smiley boys because we'd have all the neighborhood kids over and feed them and play ping pong and all this stuff. The other thing we were known for was the Christian household. Everybody knew the Smiley boys were Christian. And we had this California family move in 2 doors down, and they were part of the it sounds bad, but it's a cult. It's a cult. A lot of Hollywood people are in it. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. It's not Scientology, it's worse than that. Oh, vegan. They're vegan. And here's the deal. I never want to offend anybody, but if you're here tonight and you're a vegan, I don't care, okay? I used to worry about offending vegans, and then one day it hit me. I was like, why am I worried? They're not going to attack me. I'm made out of meat. But this vegan family moved in, and I did not know they were vegan, and they had a son the same age as Trent, one of my sons. And so we had him over like the second day that they moved in, and we fed him. But we're rednecks. We're totally, so the mom showed up the next morning and just knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and she was like, "Did you feed my son squirrel?" I was like, "Ma'am, we call it chicken of the tree." But that was difficult, blending our kids together, because my wife's a gourmet cook. And so like the first time I made a meal for our whole family, I made chicken legs, I made drumsticks, I made like 50 of them because my kids will put them away. And I just set this big tray in the middle of our table, and my oldest bonus kid, Dylan, goes, "What is that?" I was like, "That's a chicken leg." And he said something I'd never heard before. He goes, "Is that meat on the bone?" I'd never heard that before. I was like, "I guess it's meat on the bone." He goes, "We don't eat meat on the bone." I looked at my 3 boys. They had a drumstick in each hand. I was like, "Dylan, you better start, because once the prayer's done, your option's gonna be bone, okay?" So that was difficult, how you handle situations. You know, my wife raised my 2 bonus kids with, what's it called? It's popular in California, emotions and feelings. Wow, you guys turn icy so quick. I'm not saying that my 3 boys and I don't have emotions. Like, we've been through some stuff, okay? My 3 boys and I, we have cried together. We're Dallas Cowboy fans. So you know we've cried together. And, but even how we handled that kind of stuff. So, okay, here's an example. So maybe 8 months into blending the family, I was in Mason. He's my youngest bonus kid's room. I was putting some clothes away, looked in the corner. He had a pet bird, and it had passed away, okay? And I remember it clearly, because my first thought was, "We had a bird?" I didn't know, because 5 boys live upstairs, so I don't ever go up there because of the smell. But we do. He had a bird, and it died, you know, and I don't know how, probably old age. I just found it right in my dog's mouth. And I know, I felt terrible, but I was so glad it was me that found it and not my wife, because she's squeamish about that stuff, but not me. I'm a hunter, I'm a husband, I know how to handle situations. Like, I wrestled the bird out of the dog's mouth, I cleaned it off, I put it back in the cage. I made it look like a suicide. So, you should have read the note, it was awesome. So, I'm in an emotional cage of despair. I'm no longer flying high. I'm a cheap version of myself. It was good. I leave all my possessions to Mickey the dog, who would never harm me. No, that part's made up. I did not make a note. I did not. I actually told my wife, because my wife went through pretty much the same thing that I went through in her first marriage. So obviously trust is a big deal. So I told her right away. Also because she walked in while I was wrestling the dog. So anyway, she listed the dog on Craigslist. That's not the point of the story. Here's the point of the story. This is how we handle situations differently. I would have texted my boys and said, "Hey, the bird died." We would have made a couple of jokes and we would have moved on. My wife said, "Let's wait till all the children are home and we'll sit them down in the living room and break the news, and then we will let them individually talk about how it makes them feel." Yeah, no, don't laugh. I was on board because I was thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a good TikTok." Because I knew my kids would make jokes. That's how I've raised them. But then I had a mature thought. I thought, no, maybe this is an opportunity. Maybe God has provided this so we can love on each other and support it. And this will be another moment where we're blending our family even tighter. And so I was going to text my boys and say, "Hey, some bad news is coming. Everybody's fine, but you're going to hear some news and we're not going to make jokes." Right? And I know you guys don't know me, but that's pretty mature. Can everybody agree that that's a good, yeah. I really wish I would have remembered to do it. But here's the deal. I write for Focus on the Family, this book series for middle school kids called The Adventures of Average Boy. And I was working on the third book, and I was super involved in this chapter, and I looked up. I totally lost track of time. I hadn't texted my boys. It was after 3. I ran into the living room. All 5 boys are already on the couch. Now I'm standing behind my wife trying to signal to my boys not to laugh. I know it was a waste of time. I was the first one to laugh. Because here's the deal. I did not know they named that bird the Godfeather. How do you not laugh at that? She was like, our pet bird, the Godfeather. I was like, So if you want a dog and a husband, go to Craigslist. But then she broke the news. She was like, our pet bird has passed away. How does it make you feel? And I'm now looking at my 3 boys like, please be with me now. Don't make jokes. And my oldest son, Coulter, who's most like me, was like, we had a bird? My middle son, Trent, goes, cool. Now we can play badminton. I looked at my youngest, Xander, and I was like, please redeem the Smiley name. And he goes, looks like we're having meat on the bone tonight. Oh, my wife was so mad. She gave me the bird. No, she is amazing. She is so amazing. And that's the thing. So we did what most Christian couples do. We waited until we got married to start fighting. But no, that's the great thing. It's like even when we fight, we're on the same team. That's how I know she's my person. Like we're just, and in fact, my wife, when she gets upset, she gets out of control. And so she says the same things over and over. It like snowballs. And it doesn't bother me because I know she just needs a vent. In fact, I've actually started playing a game that I call, I shouldn't have started this. I play a game in my mind called Angry Wife Bingo. She has 25 commonly used phrases. I'm looking for 5 in a row. That's it. And before you women get mad at me, this is a good game for us to play because it makes us listen to everything you say. Because I know what's coming. I'm like, oh, she's about to say, would it kill you to pick your clothes up off the floor? And she's like, would it kill you to pick your clothes up off the floor? And I'm like, bingo, right? I don't say bingo out loud. I'm not an, idiot, but I do. I know what's coming now. I can just see it in her face. I'm like, oh, she's about to use my name at the end of the sentence, even though I'm the only one in the room. And she's like, sometimes I don't even think you hear me, Bob. I'm like, I heard you that time. All right, 2 more squares. I need to set something down without a coaster. No, I don't do that. I don't preempt it. It makes me listen. I don't do, whatever. I don't leave the toilet seat or whatever. And by the way, as long as I'm talking about this, I do want to challenge the Christian men that we do need to step up how we treat our women, how we treat our wives or our girlfriends or whatever situation you're in, because people are watching. I don't have a joke for that, but I think we need to step up and lead. They are the daughters of the king, and we need to treat them like that. I just think that's true. I just see us going in the wrong direction. And so, yeah, tell your wife that you love her. Just every once in a while, just tell her how you feel. Get her flowers. Open car doors. I don't know why guys won't open a car door, especially after a big meal at a restaurant. You open the door, she gets in, you shut it. You got time to fart as you go around the car. I guess what I'm saying is be romantic. Sorry, Trent, my son, knows that when I'm on stage, and he always calls me over and over, so that's why I looked at my phone. Because I saw some of you looking at me because I was up here talking, and I was going, ooh, So anyway, but yeah, so I don't do that. I don't make things to make her say that. Put the toilet seat down. And that shows that you're thinking of them. So do that, guys. Although women, come on. What are you doing? Are you not looking? Are you just backing in? Are you just... I've never understood that. Mama's had some wine and queso. Get out of the way. Anyway. So even when we get upset at each other, we still love each other. Like, it's amazing. She's just, and the only time, there's only been 2 really big altercations in our marriage. One, about a year ago, she came home. She did not warn me about this, but she came home with a brand new puppy. Yeah, no preparation. At least if she got pregnant, I would have had 9 months to prepare. You know, I could have gotten an apartment, packed a bag. No, she showed up on our back porch with a brand new mini golden doodle. No. You obviously know what a mini golden is. If you don't know, I didn't know, because I grew up on a farm. So a mini golden doodle, mini means small, doodle is from the poodle family. The word golden is in there to prepare you for what it cost. Again, I grew up on a farm. Did you know some people pay for dogs, and that sometimes that number has a comma in it? She showed up on the back porch. I was like, what is that? And she's like, this is our new mini golden doodle. I bought it from a reputable breeder here in the Woodlands. All I heard was bought. I was like, honey, you don't buy a dog. You get a dog when a dog shows up. Right? She was like, are you talking about your farm dogs? And I was like, yeah. She was like, you get what you pay for. I was like, what are you talking about? Our farm dogs were awesome. Limpy, no tail, eye socket, mange tube, bitey. They were, and I was like, how much did it cost? And she wouldn't tell me how much it cost. And I was like, I'm not opening the door until you tell me. Yeah, I started this story and I didn't think it through. She didn't tell me. She, how do I tell? She distracted me by trying to have a 6th kid. There you go. So I still don't know how much that dog cost. But I do ask her every day. Even as I'm telling this story, I'm like, what am I complaining about? I love that dog now. Yeah. I named her Lucky. So yeah, so that was the only time. And the only other thing was, right when we got married, she got me a gift. She is a very good gift giver, but this gift was a miss. She got me 10 tanning bed coupons. I don't know if you can see, but I'm a redhead. I don't tan. I burst into flames instantly. I don't tan. I don't even beige, okay? I'm so white, every year I qualify for a Pale Grant, okay? So getting me a tanning bed coupon as a redhead, that's like getting a vegetarian a meat of the month club, or, a politician a book on how to tell the truth, And here's the deal. I don't even like to leave my toast in the toaster too long, much less I'm not putting my body on dark roast in there. And when I got the coupon, it had the suggestion that men are supposed to wear a Speedo. Okay? Now, I don't want to get gross tonight, but can we all just agree that Speedo is the worst article of clothing? I think it got its name because when you have one on, you go everywhere quickly, right? Has anybody ever gotten a loitering ticket wearing, what seems to be the problem, officer? No. Just doing my morning lunges. No, but here's why she got it. It was a thoughtful gift. It just was a miss because I don't want to put my body in a sun coffin, okay? But here's why she did it. So I write this book series, Average Boy, and we do a podcast for families to listen to with their kids. And it won an award at the National Religious Broadcasting Company. So they flew me into Colorado to accept the award. And so I took my family, and so we decided to do our Christmas card photo out in the snow. Yeah, I did not show up in the photo. So that's why she got them for me, but that was the first time I ever had to tell her. I was like, honey, I know why you got this, and it is thoughtful, but I'm not, first of all, wearing a Speedo. Second of all, I'm not going to go lay in, a tanning bed. I'm not comfortable with that, but I appreciate that. So anyway, the next day, I was headed to the tanning salon, and and here's the deal. The Woodlands is I don't like snooty people, okay? I don't like people that think they're more important than anybody else. If you have air in your lungs right now, you are important to God. God created you perfectly, the way he wants you made. Some people think they're way better than other people. And the Woodlands is full of snooty people. And I walked in that tanning salon, and the lady looked up, and she's like, I guess it's your first time here at a tanning salon. I was like, why? Because I'm so white? She was like, no, because we have dressing rooms. You don't have to wear the Speedo in here. So already I'm hating this process. And then she takes me, there were other people in the lobby, but she takes me immediately back, like way to the very back. I assume so the other customers can't hear my body sizzling. And this is how snooty she is. She's looking at my coupon, walking down the hallway, and she goes, this says it's 15 minutes, but I don't think you should do that with your complexion. I was like, how long should I do? She goes, 11 seconds. And then she opens the door. I'd only seen them in the movies. Has anybody done the tanning bed? You guys have? Okay, I don't know if this is normal because I've only had the one experience, but they opened the door. It was small. It was much smaller than I've seen in movies. I was like, am I getting the George Foreman tanning bed? And so I get in, and right before she closes the door, she hands me these goggles, these little tiny, did you have the goggles? A little small? I didn't know what I was like, I don't have a passenger pigeon, but thank you. And here's what she said. No, you have to wear these because the light is so intense that if you don't have them on, your eyes will explode. And then she locks me in there. So now I'm laying in there and I want to say something, but I don't want to open my mouth because I don't want my tongue to explode. And the other thing, do you hear the timer? Can you hear the timer in the tanning bed? This tanning bed, you heard the timer and it was like tick, 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 which I thought was my skin drying up and ripping off my skeleton. And it's so bright. It's actually so bright in there, even with the goggles on, that I thought maybe this isn't the light of the tanning bed. Maybe it's God calling me home. And here's the deal. I can't wait to go be with God, but I did not want to go like that, Because first of all, what if he doesn't let me in? He's like, no, that's not Bob Smiley. He's not tan, Plus, I grew up Church of Christ, and I know you do not get into heaven wearing a Speedo. So... And it's just loud. It's tick, tick, tick. And when the timer shuts off, so does the light, and it's loud. So it goes tick, tick, tick. And it's pitch black. Guys, I thought my eyes exploded. So I start yelling, my eyes exploded. She opened up the top. She was like, you're a moron. The timer went off. And the only redeeming thing was she said I could use their showers. And I don't know if you got to use the showers. It was awesome. There were nozzles everywhere. That part was good. Well, it was good for a while. Then she knocked on the door and was like, what are you doing in our spray tan booth? So... But my wife is awesome. She's so amazing. She loves Jesus. She loves people. Although she doesn't suffer fools gladly. That's one of the things I love about her is I don't ever have to get mad at anybody else for the rest of my life because she will do it for me. I don't know if this is going to be funny, but we just went on a cruise over Christmas because my comedy career allows me to have 4 hours to listen to a timeshare pitch. And so I got a free cruise, and it was a good cruise. It left out of Galveston. It went to Corpus Christi and back. And here's the deal. My wife loves everybody, but we don't like self-centered people. We don't like people that think they're more important. My wife calls them Rudies. Not to be confused with the Notre Dame football player. That was Rudy the hero. These are Rudies, like self-centered narcissists, or Americans, we'll call them that. But we don't like Rudy. And this boat, when we were getting on the boat, it was full of Rudies. It was just full of people pushing people, cutting in line. And so the first morning we go up to the pool deck, and there's chairs everywhere. And all these signs that says, do not save chairs. There's no saving of chairs. Don't tell this chair about Jesus, because it can't be saved. It's like, seriously, there were signs everywhere about not saving chairs. And as soon as we get up there, we look, and there's towels and sunglasses and Stanley cups, lots of Stanley cups. So we knew a lot of college white girls were there. And we get up there, but we know that there's no saving of the chairs. And so I walk over, because I was willing to look the other way, mainly because my wife, because here's the deal. These people evidently spent all their money on the ticket to get on the boat and didn't save money to buy clothes to properly cover themselves. guys get what I'm saying? They were Rudies and Nudies, okay? And so I was like, so I walked over to this lady who was like laying there, and next to her was 2 empty chairs, and they had 1 flip-flop each on the chair. She was barefooted and 1 flip-flop each. So I, looking away, not looking at her because she wasn't really dressed good. So I know I wouldn't make my wife happy, but I was looking away and I go, "Excuse me, ma'am, are these chairs being used?" And she pulled down her sunglasses, one of 3 articles that she had on. And she's like, "Yes, they're being used." This is why I love my wife. All I had to do is step back. My wife stepped up. She's like, "Let me get this straight. So these 2 chairs are being used by 2 one-legged people. Is that what you're telling me? 2 one-legged people, probably named Eileen and Skippy, are using these chairs, but they've bounced over to the bar to order a rum runner, or maybe they're in the swimming pool swimming in a circle, or maybe they're up on the Lido deck winning the leg wrestling competition, or maybe they both went in together and are sharing a pogo stick to go down to your room to get the rest of your clothes. Is that what you're telling me? 2 one-legged people? No, I don't think so. Adjust those 2 eye patches you call a swim top and get those flip-flops off our chairs." And 2 minutes later, we had 3 chairs, actually. 1 for me, 1 for her, 1 for my wife's flip-flops. So it really is. She's so amazing. I'll tell my favorite story that happened, and this happened the day before everybody shut down in Texas. We shut down for about a month, but we were out. My wife and I were walking around our neighborhood, 6 feet apart. Yeah, and not even because of COVID, just because we both had a big meal, and we realized we were about to be shut in. And so my wife goes, "Hey, we're about to be stuck at home with 5 kids. Like, let's just go out and do something tonight." And so we didn't really need anything, but we always like to go to Walmart to look around at other people to feel better about ourselves. Come on, Lake Havasu. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I went to your Walmart today. I was looking around. I was like, yeah. I'm good. I was like, my Crocs match. So we pulled up to Walmart, and they were about to shut down for who knows how long. And I had a persistent cough. I had a really bad cough. It wasn't COVID. I actually went to the doctor and got it checked out, and it wasn't COVID. It was something weird. He called it Corona. I was like, I don't even drink. Or I'm sorry, I'm a Christian, so not publicly. So, but I had a persistent cough. So my wife goes, "Hey, when we go in, you can't cough because you know how it is. It's still this way. You cough, people look at you like you're the Walking Dead, okay?" And so I was like, "All right, I'll try not to." So we walked in. First of all, they had turned the music off because they were about to shut down. I don't know if you've been to Walmart where the music's off. It's even creepier. And people were running around. They were grabbing toilet paper. They were grabbing stuff. It was so frantic. And my wife was like, "Oh, well, maybe we should get some stuff." So she pulled out a list, and so we split up to go get stuff. I was supposed to get batteries. But the first thing I do when I go to Walmart is I like to go to the clock aisle and set the alarms to go off at the same time. So I'm doing that, and because there's no music, I hear this guy go, "Hey, I think that's him. Hey, honey, come here. That's him, right?" And I look, and I got recognized by actually 37 people. 37 people recognized me because I'm, hugely famous. And I am famous, and the worst part is I'm always having to tell everyone. My kids love to act like I'm not famous. I was actually noticed by 8 different people in one day, and my oldest son, Coulter, was with me, and I was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're at a family reunion." But you can laugh if you want. This is a true story. I looked up, and there were 37 people standing there. I talked to them. It turned out they were just one really nice homeschool family. And their kids read my Average Boy books, and they listen to the Average Boy podcast. And so they were all like, they wanted autographs and stuff. And so I signed autographs and stuff. But then all of a sudden, I had to cough. And so I did everything right. I handed the dad the Sharpie. I stepped over, and I went like that. But because the music was off in Walmart, my cough echoed. And my wife was one aisle over, and she heard and recognized my cough. And my wife is amazing. She has taught me things about myself that I never knew. You know, like before I was married to her, I used to think I preferred to sleep in a dark, quiet room. I had no idea I really wanted a giant fan made by Boeing right over my face. And I don't know how I ever nodded off without my white noise machine right there. So my wife always helps me out. And when she heard and recognized my cough, she very lovingly went, "Stop coughing!" And everybody in Walmart stopped everything. And then I looked and I saw worry on people's faces. And it wasn't just worry because some crazy lady had yelled in Walmart. I saw worry because COVID. I saw worry because people were uncertain. Man, how great was it to be a believer in that moment, that even though we didn't know what was going on, we could rest knowing that God does, that God is in control. And I saw this worry, and then I realized, like, oh, they're worried about more than this. And then I also thought, they also don't know that the lady who yelled at me is my wife. So I moved the cart around, and everybody was kind of gathering around, and I was like, "I am so sorry, ma'am, if I offended you." And she was like, "What? Don't ma'am me." Now everybody's looking at her like she's the craziest woman in the world. And I was like, "I'm sorry that I said ma'am. We're from Texas. We have manners down here. But I'll just guess Karen." And that's when she realized what I was doing, and she looked around, she was like, "That is my husband." And I was like, "Ma'am, I have never seen you." And that was the very first time I ever took an Uber. So I'm gonna close with just two really quick stories, but man, that's what it's about. It's about being in community with one another, you know? It's about loving on each other and realizing that nobody's more important than anybody else. When Jesus went to the cross, he didn't say, "Hey, I'm just going for these people here." No, it's for all of us. It's for every one of us. He loves us. He created us. He has a plan. You know, my grandmother was the one who got me to read the Bible when I was young. She actually said it in a funny way. She was like, "Read the Bible when you're young. It makes me mad that young kids never read the Bible, and elderly people are reading it like crazy because it's like they're trying to cram for a final." And I started reading it when I was young. That's why I started writing the Average Boy books. I thought if I can get kids to laugh, I can get some biblical truth. I read the book. It's not boring. There's wars. There's so much in the Bible that as a kid, Doubting Thomas, he doubted one time. Do we all know him as Doubting Thomas? One time on a date, I laughed and a snot bubble came out. You think I want to be known as Snot Bubble Bob? So I read the Bible when I was a kid, man. It made a huge... And I know we have adults, we have parents here tonight, so I will give you a parenting tip. Find out what your kids are reading before you do certain activities. Because I took my oldest son, Coulter, on a camping hiking trip one time when he had just gotten to the part in the Bible where Abraham had taken his son, Isaac. If you're not laughing, you're not cramming for your final. My son was sitting by a campfire reading a story about Abraham taking his son Isaac to the top of the mountain to sacrifice him. He didn't know the end of the story that God stopped him. I got out of the tent and I was like, "Good morning, Coulter. You want to go on a hike?" And he was like, "What? No. I want to go home." I was like, "What's up with you?" And he showed me and I was like, "That's hilarious." Now grab that firewood and that knife and let's go. So my grandmother got me to read the Bible. The other thing my grandmother said, which I think is brilliant, is she said, "How can we live out Jesus' words if we don't know what he said?" Man, that's powerful. We need to know what he said. How are we going to know what he said? We got to go to the Word. Jesus is getting misquoted all the time nowadays, you know. I've got like I think Ray mentioned, I've got a merch table in the fellowship hall. I'm not telling you that so you feel like you got to go support my 5 children. You know, it's WWJD. But I do have a merch table out there, and I have those Average Boy books. I've written 4 so far for ages 7 to 14, and I do have a funny shirt that says "Chicken of the Tree," and it's actually designed by my oldest bonus kid, Dylan. He was the one who was like, "Is that meat on the bone?" Well, now he hunts with me. We have a good relationship, so he designed a shirt. It says "Chicken of the Tree," and it has a squirrel with all the cuts of meat on it. I love wearing that shirt in Portland. But the other thing, my table, I got the idea because my grandmother said we actually need to know what Jesus said if we're going to live out what Jesus said. And I got the idea during COVID because my next door neighbor and I, we would have coffee on our yard. And we could not be more different. He is a vegetarian. I'm a Texan with taste buds. He is an atheist. I'm a Christian. I don't know why I'm stumbling, but we vote differently. I just don't want to do too many political. We vote different. I'll leave it at that. He votes one way. I won. But here's the deal. We are so opposite, and we love each other because we're neighbors. And we'd have coffee every morning, like during the quarantine. And Jesus gets misquoted all the time. And my neighbor came out one day, and he was like, "Man, all this stuff." He was talking about the conspiracy theories. Like, did you guys keep up with all the? There were so many conspiracies. Like, the vaccine has a chip in it. You know, like I know. And I don't want to make anybody mad tonight. But there's no way if they wanted a vaccine, if they wanted a chip in our body, they're not going to put it in a vaccine. They're going to put it in a Chick-fil-A sandwich, right? But there was all this crazy stuff. Did you guys hear the one about birds? You've heard it? Okay, will you tell people so they don't think I'm making this up? Birds aren't real. What are they? Government camera drones to spy on us. And they invented COVID so we'd all have to stay at home so they could change the batteries out. That is a real conspiracy theory. And again, I'm a hunter. I've never bitten into a quail and been like, ooh, coppery, you know? But my neighbor came out to me and he was like, one morning, he's like, "Man, all this stuff's going on. It's a lot like your boy Jesus said." And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be good. What did he say? And he goes, "You know, with great power comes great responsibility." I was like, is that in first or second Spider-Man? So I made a shirt that has a drawing of Jesus, and it just says, "I never said that." Because he gets misquoted all the time. But what is one of the main things that he talked about? Love. He talked about love. That's my challenge for you guys, is we need to love on other people the way that Jesus loves us. And we need to share that message. This gift isn't just for us, it's for everybody. You know, I'll close with this last quick, and I will be at my table. If you can't talk to me, I am online. It would mean so much to me if you guys would follow me on Instagram or Facebook, because when I pulled up outside Ray's house today, I got a text message from a family member going, "You're supposed to be the famous one, and I got more followers on Instagram." I know, there was a screenshot, and it was true, but it was annoying. Nah, it was. I was like, nobody cares, Grandpa. But yeah, if you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and if you are a sinner, I am on TikTok. So, but this happened, this last thing, and thank you guys for coming out, by the way, and supporting Christian comedy and stuff. So I love traveling around. I've been to all 50 states. I sometimes get to go to third world countries. So this story took place in a third world country. It was called Little Rock, Arkansas, and I flew into their airport, the Little Rock, or actually it's not called the Little Rock Airport anymore. Do you guys know what it's called? Huh? It's called the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport. Yeah. I just, no, see, I'm just telling you that. I'm not going to make jokes. I will never make fun of the Clintons. I am the last person that wants to wake up with a mysterious, self-inflicted gunshot wound. This is just a story about the Clinton Airport, okay? And it is a good airport. It's professionally run. It's all paid staff. And I don't know why that's funny. It is. It's all paid staff. There are no interns. I just didn't know they had changed the name, and I didn't know until I flew out the next day, and the guy was so excited. He was like, "Welcome to the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport. May I see your boarding pass?" And I couldn't help it. I was like, "Oh, man, she emailed it to me, but it got deleted." And, I'm glad you guys are laughing, because all I remember after that moment was, wow. His hands are cold. Next month, I'm flying out of Biden's airport, and it's weird because you have to buy your ticket, and then you mail it in, and they write somebody else's name on it. No, sorry. Sorry, I thought of it, and I was like, I can't not say it. But that's a joke, okay? You don't actually buy your Biden ticket. You don't pay for it. Your grandkids will. So I need to decide. Anyway, it doesn't even have anything to do. This last story doesn't have anything to do with the airport, but it was at the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport. I always rent from Enterprise just because I think it's funny to go, when I sign the Enterprise paper and hand it to the Enterprise guy, I go, "Live long and prosper." And thank you, but I don't even care if you laugh. I've been telling that joke in rental car centers all over the country for 27 years. Doesn't matter. I think it's hilarious. So Landon, Little Rock, they still have car shortage because of COVID, because they all dumped their cars and now they're trying to buy back. So they had 2 cars this day, and it was me and this elderly couple. And I love elderly people. I think they're the coolest people on the planet. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, huge influences. I did a youth conference last night, and I was telling kids, if you still have your grandparents, they're a blessing. One kid was like, "I don't want to talk to them. Their mind is going. They say weird stuff." I'm like, dude, that's the best time to talk to them. Right? It's like channel surfing. You never know what's on. But I love elderly people, and I love people that are in love. And this couple was so in love. They were holding hands the whole time. You cross the street to go to the rental car center at the airport. He opened the door and was like, "My queen." I was like, when I was signing the Enterprise paper, I looked over and they were kissing. Yeah, that part was gross. Because they were really kissing. Like at one point, I heard him go, "Are these your teeth, mama?" So anyway, I signed the Enterprise paper. I say, "Live long and prosper." It's totally silent. It's a lot like when Ray tells a joke. And the Enterprise guy goes, "Hey, there's still a car shortage. We only have 2 cars, and it's just you 2, so follow me out." I had a 3.5-hour drive to my show. So I walked out, and he goes, "I got a Ford Focus and a Dodge Challenger." Okay, there's only like 6 of you that are car people. I don't know how to tell the story now. He goes, "I got a broken down tricycle or the Batmobile." So I immediately was like, "Oh, I'll take the Dodge Challenger." And I start walking toward it, and the sweet elderly lady goes, "Oh, I've never been in a Dodge Challenger before." And before I could turn around, her husband goes, "That would have been a sweet ride for our 50th wedding anniversary." Now, I'm going to tell you what I said. I hope you don't get offended, but I have to tell you what I said because what he said was so quick and so funny. I turned around and I go, "What's up with all this guilt? Are you Catholic?" And he goes, "If it gets us in the hot rod, I'll convert." The reason why I want to close with this story, I love doing comedy, but I love talking about Jesus more. He has a gift for you. And hopefully you've received it. If not, man, talk to Ray, talk to me, talk to anybody about it. If you're here and this is the first time you're hearing about this amazing Savior. But I called the Dodge Challenger. So by first grade playground rules, that car is mine. Can we all agree? But it really was their 50th wedding anniversary. And I already felt bad because they were spending it in Arkansas. But I had the dilemma. Do I give them the car or do I take the car for myself for my 3.5-hour drive? I think we have this opportunity every single day. I think God gives us the opportunity to be selfish or to breathe life into other people's lives. And I don't usually tell stories that make me look like a hero, but I love that I can stand in front of you guys here in Lake Havasu tonight and tell you that Dodge Challenger corners like it is on rails. No, I gave them the car. And nothing against the Ford Focus, and I'm sure 1997 was a good year. I got on the freeway, that thing was shimmying. I think it had a lawnmower blade underneath it. But here's the deal, I felt good. I felt... What do you hate your drummer? You guys throwing things at him? Does he have bad breath? Anyway, I think we have that opportunity every day. And I'm telling you, God has designed us to feel good when we do good for other people. I was driving in that car and I was like, man, I actually was praying to God. I was like, man, thank you for the opportunity to be Christ-like to some people and to give them that car. And the best part about it is as soon as I said that, the elderly couple passed me on the freeway. And I knew it was them because they still had their blinker on. So that's my show, man. Thank you guys so much for coming out and supporting this. Thank you guys so much. God bless.
I'm not going to try to follow that.